Hello everyone, welcome to another podcast series with StoryMirror. Today we have Mr. Mohan Thangaraju, a storyteller whose work combines travel experiences, human emotions, and gripping narratives. In his latest novel, When the Moon Burnt White, he takes readers into a thrilling world of love, danger, and survival set against the backdrop of Thailand and the Golden Triangle. Let's begin by talking about the inspiration behind this fascinating story. Before we talk about your book itself, I would love to begin with your journey. What sparked your passion for storytelling and writing?
Right. So I really don't know because it just happened to me when I was 12 years or 13 years. I was studying in the school. I started writing in Tamil. So we used to write short poems in Tamil and then short stories. Then I used to write all kind of stuff. I mean, even people used to call it as so crap, right? So that's how it started. And then there was a very famous Tamil writer. His pen name was Sujata, and he was a visionary writer in Tamil those days. And if you know this movie, right, the Shivaji the Boss,
Yeah,
right, Shivaji the Boss and the Indiran Robo, Rajinikanth's movie, right, and he is the one who has written the story, dialogues, and all of that. And he has written hundred such, movie dialogues and stuff like that. But before that, he has written a lot of stuff, and he was the first guy to write about science fiction in the entire Indian literary, scene. So people like me in the 1970s, I was like 13 years, 14 years, so we were all inspired by him, and every one of us wanted to, write like him, right? And that was how that inspiration really, so came. Then I think I had that little bit of that skill set to write. So I was writing for that 4 5 years till I got into college. And then after I got into college, I transitioned to English a little bit. And I wrote in English. And then one of my stories, the story I had written in Tamil, I actually rewrote in English. And that was published in my college magazine. And after that, I started working, right?
okay.
From 1986, I started working, and it stopped.
Okay.
It stopped completely, right? And in between, I wanted to write. I wanted to get back into that. That feeling was always there with me because I had written a bunch of stuff, entire the trunk full of stories, all written by hand using those school days A4 A4 sheets, the answer sheets. I've written a whole lot of that stuff, and we got married. I was so happy to present it to my wife, and then she said, "Okay, we'll see, keep it there." And after 6 months, I asked her what happened, where are those stuff? Oh, they were worth its weight in gold. I gave it to Bharatiwala.
Oh my god. Okay.
Right, so that's one of the biggest inspirations that happened.
To start writing
Start
again.
right. No, then I stopped after that. It was all
Okay.
91, 92, so I didn't start. Then 19s, 20s, and 21, whatever happened, and I was supposed to retire formally from IBM in 2021 after my 35 years of corporate career. And somewhere in 2020, it just happened. The trigger just happened. I wanted to write. So what I did was I rewrote a story which I wrote in Tamil about 85, 86, 40 years before, 30, 37, 35, 36 years before. And I sat down and then rewrote everything in English. And that's called Bagala Bath, right? And that is my own experience of going to Chennai, a small town boy from Salem going to Chennai to attend the interview. And after attending the interview and clearing the interview, got selected. Then I wanted to celebrate. I went to the restaurant, right?
Okay.
And that's where I got a shot, right? That looking at the price, whatever. So I returned that. So I rewrote that. One good thing was that I have a good thing that is that I have a very good memory. So that happened 1985. So I could remember every detail vividly. Then I wrote. Then I wrote that Bagalabad and another couple of other stories based on my
Right.
experience. Right? Basically, I mean, at least this is what I do. I'm sure most of the writers also do this. My own experience and my learnings from what I've read, what I've seen, what I've heard from people, and then my creativity or imagination. So put all this stuff together and
Together
then see
and
weave
a
it together. So I wrote those so short stories, and that is Bagalabad, and I self-published it with Motion Press. The story of four or five, book of four or five stories. Then I wrote another book called The Happy Ending. That's also short story collections. Again, published with Motion Press. So that's how the whole so journey started. That's how I
Okay.
got the trigger. Right? And then I wanted to I wanted to graduate from a short story writer to novel writing. That's when I
Okay.
write my first novel, One Midnight Summer Madness, published through StoryMirror.
Okay. So as you mentioned that you wanted to switch from short storytelling to, a proper novel size book. So what was a shift you saw in your writing? Something that, you completely changed? Was it the thought process or the kind of, I would say writing style that you changed? What was that
Yeah.
helped you transition?
Writing style, definitely, I had to change that because short story, the writing style is like very crisp, and there's a clear start, and something happens, then there is a sharp, or a sudden, or a what should I say, surprise end. That's how the short stories happen, right? But when you're writing a novel, then you need to have the complete story arc, the characters, and then how the story develops from chapter 1 to chapter 10, 15, whatever, whatever. So I had to think through that. So I had to do a lot more of thinking, and also do a lot more of research of this.
During your travel in Thailand,
Mhm.
was there a particular moment or experience that made you think this could become a story?
Uh, yes, kind of. So I traveled to Thailand in 2022. That's the nth time, whatever. We went to Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai. I was hearing about the Golden Triangle. I thought initially the Golden Triangle is similar to our tourist hotspots of North India, Delhi, Agra, Jaipur.
Correct.
So I was wondering what is this Golden Triangle of Thailand? Was it Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and what is the next city? And I googled and found out that Golden Triangle is not one particular country. It's actually four countries, right? Little bit of China and North Thailand and northeast Myanmar and then northwest Laos. And that's a picture you see in the book, right? So that's how I got to know about Golden Triangle. And the fascinating part about that is the term Golden Triangle was coined by CIA in the 1970s itself. And those days, the Golden Triangle was the number one heroin producing region in the world. Even today, it is number one. Afghanistan is number two, and cocaine is South America, Colombia. Right.
The novel is set around the Golden Triangle and touches on the world of narcotics trafficking. What inspired you to build a story around such a complex and dangerous backdrop?
Right. So I wanted to explore the life in that camp, whatever the heroin
Understood.
lab we call. If suppose somebody gets trapped, gets stuck there, gets abducted and forced to do work there, and what happens to that individual, right? So that's the premises based on which I wrote, and I was also at same time very particular that this is not a narco story. It is not about narco production or a distribution or the competition between the different mafia cartels, no, nothing like that. And I want it to be very, very different from the narcos of whatever we have seen in the Netflix. So it's more of a survival story. It's a love, survival, and then goes in between a lot of emotions, right? And then the desperation, losing hope, and then also the redemption at redemption at the
Correct.
end.
The central character, Kathir, is an Indian chemical engineer who suddenly finds himself trapped in a heroin refinery. What made you choose such an unusual and intense premise for the story?
Right. So as I mentioned, so I wanted it to be a different experience for people when they read this novel. So I
Okay.
wanted them to visualize uh, the life in a heroin refinery or a heroin camp. What happens to an individual when they are trapped like this, right? And so that is how I actually thought through this. So initially it was like it's a romantic thriller, right? So it was
Correct.
more like it started more like a romance and then a little
Mhm.
bit of thriller, and then as I started writing, and there was a change in the arc. So I wanted people to experience that because two reasons. One, not many people know about Golden Triangle,
Mhm.
and
True.
everybody across the world, India, are familiar with Colombia, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
But this is completely different. So I wanted people to uh, um, read and experience something very different, which I hope they have not experienced so far.
Okay. Kathir is forced into a moral dilemma, working within a criminal system just to survive. What were you trying to explore about human nature through his character?
Right. See, none of us is perfect, right? We always live in that gray zone. There's nothing like a black and white,
Yeah.
right? And so many people are able to manage that gray comfortably, whichever way it is, right? Right. So whether they keep it to themselves or they're able to control it, fair enough. But there are people who are not able to control that, and they get into trouble. And we hear about a lot of stuff that whatever we see, read in the newspaper, all that, right? So here, so I wanted to explore that gray aspect.
Okay.
Every individual has that. So I wanted to explore that gray aspect of human nature through Kabir and what would one choose to do.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
right. So in this case, also, it's not that Kabir um, wholeheartedly embraces the
Everything.
the
Yeah.
everything, right? The heroin making process, and he chooses to do that to survive, stay alive. That's how I thought about the whole thing.
The novel also features strong female characters like Anne and Sanda. How do you approach shaping their personalities and roles in the story?
Right. So and is somebody I've heard through somebody.
Okay, it's a
Okay,
real.
it's not exactly the same individual, right?
Mhm.
But it is somebody's experience. It's somebody's experience. Somebody who had been in Thailand has met somebody like that, right? So part of that is coming from that. So I built Anne's character around that. That's one part, and Samba is completely. It's not Sanda. It's Sanda.
Okay,
Sanda,
okay.
Sanda in Myanmar means moon,
Mhm.
charm, Chanda,
Sanda.
Sanskrit based,
Okay,
Sanskrit, so it's the
okay,
same, right?
got it.
Okay. So Sanda is completely a character I created on my own.
Mhm.
I wanted it to be a central character, and it's with woven of the story woven around Kadir and Sanda in the heroine lab, heroine lab.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So so Anne's character is same as initially I thought, and then what I wrote or whatever I developed. So there's no change to that. But Sanda's character arc changed
Okay.
later when I was
Mm.
writing a story.
When you were writing this novel,
Hmm.
did the story follow a clear plan or did the characters and events evolve as you wrote?
I need to say this. So took me 2 years to complete this novel. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I started writing this somewhere in 2023. I did all the research
Mm-hmm.
about Golden Triangle. 22, I visited Thailand, came back, and then I got hit by that Golden Triangle bug. So I did all the research, heroine, everything, and I envisaged the story
Okay.
from chapter one to chapter end, whatever. Because that's how normally I was writing my story, the previous
Yes,
three
yes,
novels.
correct.
Complete arc, developed the blueprint, developed in my mind, and
And
I
then
sit
right.
down and write. So in this case, so I wrote the first chapter. I got stuck after that because I was not able to visualize the life in Golden Triangle, the life in Sean State, life in a refinery, heroin refinery, and what happens there. Because I didn't want to follow or use any reference anywhere from the Narcos perspective. But that life is different, this is different.
Yes,
Where
true.
Narcos are the Colombians people, everybody who's how should I put it? Willingly
Okay.
part of the industry because they grow the what do they call that? Heroin, the cocaine coca plant. They grow the coca plant, they know
Mm-hmm.
very well, and they grow it themselves, and then they sell it to the mafia cartel. So it is not that mafia forces them to do it. But
Mm-hmm.
here it's different. So the people who work in the heroin lab, but they are all forced to work.
The major difference. So this
That's
is
a major
something
difference.
new.
That's a
I think even
major.
for the audience, it is
Yeah,
going to be very
that's a
new.
major difference. So I researched all of that, and then I got stuck. Then kind of left it midway through, right? And in between, I went to US, and then I got an idea from US.
Okay.
Then I wanted to write about the Indian American dream, and I even actually wrote that novel. That novel I wrote. It's called Chicago Blues. I wrote in 3 months and published all that. After that, then again this bug, it started coming back to me again and again. So I
Completely.
sat down and then I did further research.
Mm-hmm.
But very little information was available, rather is available in the public domain,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for example, like the Kunsa is the was the drug lord of Golden Triangle, Shan
Okay.
State, and he was the dreaded drug lord from 1970s to 1990s. He was ruling the roost. All information about him and his people, all that is so available on Wikipedia, right? And even including his history, like what happens. He was very powerful, and
Mm-hmm.
the difference here is Kunsa was not running the refineries.
Okay.
He was not cultivating what is this
Hero.
opium? What's it called? Opioid plant. He was not doing that. All that was done by people from outside of Shan State, the so-called the other mafia people from Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong. And those guys were running those operations, and Kunsa was providing the
You.
security,
Okay.
support, distribution, everything. Kunsa had 20,000 people in his army. They started as a militia, right? The Shan State is a
Mm-hmm.
militia, and that time in 70s, it was twice as big as the Myanmar or Burmese army. So that's how it started. So that all kind of stuff, a lot of stuff I learned.
To
Then
read about.
I read and I learn, and then I also started reading a lot about the Shan State geography. And more or less same, Chiang Mai, and then you get into Shan State. They're all similar. All those countries they look pretty, so similar. And then specific instances I started, searching. So what kind of jungle, what kind of trees, what kind of plants, and which what's the altitude or what kind of plant. I mean, this opium plant, how does it also grow? So all that I started
Quite
researching.
detailed
I
research for the
yeah,
backdrop.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I still have to so make up a lot of things in terms of how the whole thing is so structured, like the way you see this picture, right? So it's all
Correct.
like I was trying to so visualize, and then
Visualize it.
this is how it is, right? And I was very particular that this shed has to be there
Okay.
in
Then
the
show the
shed.
audience.
So in this shed is the heroin, so the lab, and this is symbolic. So I wanted this shed to be there very clearly in the book cover. So it
Okay.
went through 4 iterations with the present.
Okay.
She was not able to visualize or understand what it was, and I shared whatever I had created with her, and then basically, so we created this one
Mm-hmm.
what I had created. So it went through a lot of research, and then so I
Finally,
started,
it's
so
out.
putting
Yeah.
putting things together.
The book contains vivid descriptions of places and cultures. How much research? Okay, we just spoke about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
research right now.
So research is one, and also I would like to add a point on the experience. I've
Hmm.
been to Thailand several times, and a couple of my friends have been living there,
Okay.
right? So there, and there's one person who has married a local Thai woman, and he's been there for 30 years plus. Another friend of mine has been working there for about 25 years. So whenever I go, so I meet them. So I hear a lot of cultural
Hmm.
aspects also from them. Initially, so when you get into Thailand, you tend to feel that it's similar to India, but
Mhm.
it is not. It is not only because we see all the Shiva statue, Brahma statue, Ganapati statue alongside Buddha. We think it is same, but it is not the same. So there is a difference. So I understood all that, so cultural nuances. So from these so friends, and plus other lot of other people I have so met. I have met a lot of Thai men and so women, and understood a lot of so things from these people.
Okay. When readers finish When the Moon Burned White, what is the one feeling or thought you hope stays with them?
It is the gray area, right, when people are forced into the gray zone, and what are the choices people make, and whether the choices are right or wrong for whatever reasons they make, right? So I want that feeling to sustain with the readers without any judgment, because I'm not judging what Kadir has done, right? And same thing, I want the readers to also feel and experience in terms of such situation. Basically, the gray, and then so what is the choice? Is it to survive? Is it to succumb, or flight, freeze, fly, whatever, right?
So it's basically the intent. If the intent is right, even for saving yourself, so it's not something that we should judge upon.
It's up to that individual, right? So because we cannot put ourselves in the shoes of that individual, right? So that it is for that individual to make that decision, whoever it is, wherever it is, at whatever stage of life. Nobody else has the right to judge that,
Yes,
right?
very true. Do you see this story purely as a thriller, or do you feel it also carries a deeper message about choices, consequences, and human resilience?
Absolutely. It is exactly not a thriller, right? It's you can put it as a romantic thriller.
Thriller, right?
So absolutely. So I want the people to look at that, the choices, the consequences, and then how one manages to do that, right? And even for taking that choice, there has to be clarity in the mind. It
Yes.
doesn't happen just like that, right? So even in this particular case, Kabir is um, caught, and he is hopeless. He lost all the hope, and he is thinking that all of a sudden something will change. When the sun comes up tomorrow,
Something will
he
be
says
done.
he's expecting that okay, he'll be free, set free, right? It doesn't happen. At the same time, he's still thinking of so Anne, and he's longing for Anne, and he's on the other hand he's stuck here, right? Completely helpless. Whereas on the third dimension, Sanda is taken to him, and she likes him. So she does. I mean, she's the symbol of love, right? And but whatever she does, he's able to understand, but he's not able to reciprocate for all these reasons. And then hopeless, he becomes addict because he makes an unsuccessful attempt to escape. Right?
Okay.
He gets caught. Then after that, he is put through series.
I
I
think
mean,
we will not reveal everything to them.
yeah,
Let the
okay,
people
yeah,
read the
yeah,
book
yeah,
to
yeah,
find
yeah,
it.
yeah.
We'll do a quick rapid fire round.
Sure.
One word to describe Thailand.
Land of thousand smiles.
One word to describe Kathir.
Okay. So Kadir is a typical uh, flawed Indian man.
Okay. Your favorite place in Thailand.
My favorite place in Thailand is obviously Bangkok.
Okay. A book that influenced your writing.
Not one book,
Hmm.
but I've been influenced by writers, um, several of them. One I talked about Sujata, but
Yes.
obviously I have not read his book recently. That was all long time back. All of those are in Tamil. But apart from that, there are these three um, English writers. Desmond Bagley. So Desmond Bagley was a very famous author in the 1960s. So he used to write in first tense, first person narrative. So that takes the reader to that situation. So it becomes the reader kind of
Is present in that.
relates to the character, and then they become half the character in between. So that was one thing that was influenced me. That's how you see the stories completely, first person narration.
Okay.
And the second thing is Wilbur Smith. Wilbur Smith writes so beautifully about the Africa, the life in Africa, the environment in Africa, all that stuff. And he can write 5 pages without the story moving even one step. Such level of detailing and exposition. So I've used a lot of exposition in my novels, the detailing, right? So the sensory aspects, and that is influenced by Wilbur Smith.
One habit every aspiring writer should develop.
Read, read, read. There's nothing else you have to read, because that's like for example, if somebody wants to be a teacher, they need to learn a lot more of stuff, right? And if you
Correct.
want to write, then you need to read a lot more of stuff. And I do a whole lot of reading in the sense for writing the novel. Earlier, I used to read a lot of books, both fiction and non-fiction.
Correct.
But in the last 1 year, I'm only reading stuff related to my writing.
John. Okay. One piece of advice for young writers.
Okay, write with the heart. So start with your heart, and then let your brain take over, right? And which is what I have done.
Okay.
When I wrote with my heart up to
This
this one.
one. Okay.
Other novels, then I let my brain take some control, because I wanted to also evolve as a writer. I also wanted to change my genre. That's how you will so change your genre and get an identity. Depends on the how that particular individual wants to
Okay.
approach it.
I understood. Any to end the conversation, any final words for the viewers and the readers?
I would expect, or rather allow people to read this novel and review it on Amazon, so that I can understand what is their feedback about this story, as about my storytelling, and I can use that to become a better storyteller.
Okay. You mentioned about keeping the story on hold, and then when you came back from US, you started writing it again. What changes did you notice in the characters while writing them again?
Right. So there is definitely a lot of change to the characters, and also the character arc, and then how they evolve towards the end, and then how the story ends.
Okay.
So initially, whatever I envisaged, I wrote it halfway.
Hmm.
So half the story was written as I had planned. After that, for every chapter when I was sitting to write, I improvised it. So what happens to Kadir? How will Kadir react? How will Kadir overcome his situation? And how will Kadir react, not react. It's how he will change his perspective from react to proactively act. Right? That's one part of it. And also, the other aspect is in terms of the character arc of um, Anne and Samba.
Okay.
Right? So it completely changed. The end is actually completely different from what I had initially so thought about. And the most important aspect is, as a writer, I just want to share this here, right? And the last 6 months I spent in completing this novel, I became Kadir myself. That is how you can express that character, so vividly. So that's what happened. But till that halfway through, I was only thinking from Kadir's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But later, then I became Kadir myself, right? And then I didn't. Then I the Kadir's character arc from a slave to a hero, but not a chest beating hero. A hero based on the survival instinct. So that's how the arc has changed.
That is interesting. Definitely.
Okay.